Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'd like to talk about greyhound safe gardens. If you're thinking of homing a greyhound, what are the requirements when it comes to your garden, if you have one? Most charities will ask to check that the garden is safe for the dog before they agree to home them with you. So what does this actually mean? Let's take a look at that. Generally, a reputable charity will do a home check before agreeing to adopt one of their dogs with you. When it comes to the garden, the main things they are trying to assess is that it's fully enclosed with a safe and secure boundary. It has fencing of a suitable height, which is usually at least 5 feet, sometimes 6 feet, and that there is nothing in the garden that would pose a risk to the dog. Let's think about the garden boundary. The best sort of boundary is one that the dog can't see through. They are sighthounds after all. But it does depend what is on the other side. If next door has a cat or guinea pigs or a little yappy dog, then blocking their vision can be even more important. I know they're still going to be able to smell it, but not being able to see it is particularly helpful. So it's ideal to have something like large lap panels of a wooden fence that they can't see through. But if you have a wire fence or gaps in the fence, you could put something like bamboo screening in front of it, or even a large bush in a planter to block their view. If you have hedging, that is quite tricky, because if it doesn't have wire within it, there are often gaps that are quite enough for a dog to get through if they're determined to reach what's on the other side. So again, it depends what's in the neighbour's garden. Think about the access to your garden. Obviously, that is a weak point in the boundary. Is the back garden completely enclosed, or is there access to the front? Could they get round to the front, and then presumably there's only a low fence, if a fence at all, and could they therefore escape? Does the side gate fasten properly if there's a side gate, or is it something that could come undone? And how will you make sure that everybody leaves it shut? If you have a side gate that is actually within view of the pavement or the road, then can they see cats, dogs, squirrels, passers-by through that gate? Because that in itself can cause problems as well. Again, you could put something like bamboo screening or some other deterrent against that gate in order to block their view of what's outside. Your home checker is also going to look for any gaps the dog could squeeze through, or places where panels or posts are not secure, or if there are sections that are not high enough, such as in a garden that's on different levels. So if you have decking that's raised or a tiered garden, does it mean that there are parts where the fence is not high enough? I remember going to a home check once where technically it had a 6-foot fence all around, but because it was tiered on a steep slope, in some areas that meant that the fence height was only technically about 3 feet, and the dog could have jumped through a gap onto the top of next door's garage. So that was a little bit alarming. Greyhounds are not usually as good as jumping as lurchers are, but if there's something they're determined to get to, it's going to make a big difference. So we do normally find that charities require at least a 5-foot fence, if not a 6-foot, and it is there for the dog's safety. So your home checker is going to look out for any gaps the dog could squeeze through, any places where panels or posts might not be secure, or sections that are not high enough. And you might technically have a 6-foot fence, but if you have decking, or if you have a garden that's on different levels, such as on a slope with tiers, there could be parts of it where the fence is nominally 6 feet high, but in actual fact, the reality relative to the ground is only 3 feet or 4 feet. And I've seen this in gardens built on a slope, especially if there's a difference in height between your garden and the neighbour's garden. One I visited, the dog could have actually jumped over a fence that was only a few feet high and landed on next door's garage roof, and then had access to their garden as well, just because of the layout of the ground, not because the fence panels themselves weren't 6 feet high. So most greyhounds if they're a decent size, can put their feet on top of a 5-foot fence. It can look quite alarming if you've not seen it before, although they're not usually as good at jumping as lurchers are. You don't want something that they're going to be tempted to try and look over or get over. You might make some repairs or changes to the boundary, such as adding trellis to the top or adding a bolt to the gate, and your home checker will advise you on those. Inside the garden, they're going to be looking for anything that could pose a risk, whether that's a garden feature or something that you just haven't got round to tidying away yet. So it could be a structure such as a pond. Greyhounds are not very good at recognising that ponds are not safe to fall in. It could be a glass house where they don't recognise the glass and could crash into it and hurt themselves. It could be prickly or spiky plants or bushes. It could be some bits of rubbish that you're storing somewhere while you get ready to go to the tip. It could be places to get stuck, like a gap down the side between the shed and the fence, or patio doors, so they might come charging up the garden and run straight into the patio doors. And it might sound like your home checker is being picky if they ask you about anything untoward in your garden, but it's all for your new greyhound safety, because your average greyhound has no experience of any of these things when they move in with you, and no one wants an accident to happen. So I know this sounds a little bit preachy, but it's for everyone's benefit. That's all for today. If you have any questions, then do talk to your charity, or I might be able to help you in the comments. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now. Look out for new videos every Monday, and why not subscribe so you don't miss out?